Hi, I'm Ranni, your Halifax Realtor and team lead of owning Halifax. And if you're looking to work with one of the top realtors in the city and one of the best teams in the city, click one of the links below and get in touch with us. I've just spent hours going through 2,413 home sales in the Halifax market that have happened this year. And what I found out is going to surprise both buyers and sellers, because it certainly surprised me. Everyone's telling us in Halifax the market has slowed down. Days on the market are up, sales are down, and that's true, but when I dug into the actual data, I found something that most agents are not talking about. And if you're thinking about selling this year, this is the video you need to watch before you list your home. So let's get into it. So why this matters. Your equity is very important. So of course, this matters. I wanted to actually prove it or disprove it with real numbers. So I pulled every residential sale in HRM year to date up to today, July 31st. And I started digging it. Here's how I built this data. And again, I'll tell you why it really matters. So I started with the total sales for Halifax. And in our system, there's some areas that are kind of like on the outskirts. So I took those sales out of the data pack. So Hants County, East Hants, and Halifax County West. I'm sorry if you live in those areas. This video is not for you. So because they're not core Halifax HRM and it's not the area in which I work in, so that's why I pulled that data out of there. I wanted this to be a true Halifax Regional Municipality snapshot that brought us down to 2,185 homes that have sold this year. So next, I removed new construction. Any homes less than a year old were taken out. And why is that? Because I want this data to speak directly to two groups. Homeowners who are selling their home and buyers who aren't shopping in new construction. So new construction skews the data immensely. And it's a different pricing, different buyer psychology. Everything is different about new construction versus resale. So we're only focused on the resale. So what did that do? It brought the total sales down to 1,964. It's not significant, but we're getting there. That's a big number of sales that you probably see advertised. This is what's happening in Halifax, but that number is very misleading. Now here is where it gets very interesting. Of those 1,964 sales, I want to know how many sold within 30 days. Because that's kind of a very quick turnaround. Sellers feel really good. And a lot of what I'm seeing is a lot of anxious and upset sellers that their properties are sitting on the market for extended periods of time. So the answer to this question floored me. 1,507 sales sold under 30 days. That's 76.7% of all the sales in this data set that sold very quickly. Now, here's why that's shocking. Every stat you see reported for Halifax says the average days on market is over 40 days. So how can this average be over 40 when more than 3/4 of the sales are actually under 30 days? The answer is simple. Averages lie. A small number of homes are sitting for a very long time, dragging the average way up, while the majority of the market is actually moving fast. This tells us the market isn't uniformly slow, it's split. And that split comes down to one thing, which we're about to get into: pricing. So I looked at the list price versus the sale price across the board. The median list price, I took out averages. The median is way more accurate for studies like this. So the median list price in Halifax this year of the homes that have sold in under 30 days, $549,900. The median sale price, $552. Means they sold over asking price. Homes on average in this data set are selling 0.4% over asking. In a market everyone's calling soft, properly priced homes are still selling at slightly above list price. That's not a buyer's market number. That market and that number rewards sellers who price correctly. Now, I went one layer deeper here because I was very curious. Of the number of homes that sold within 30 days or less, how long did they actually take on average to sell? 8 days. I'll say that again. 8 days. That is like COVID numbers. So homes that sell fast in this market aren't taking 3.5 weeks to get an offer. They're averaging just 8 days on market before going firm, under sale. When a home is priced right, buyers are not hesitating. They're moving quickly and aggressively because they're putting an offer in quickly, they're firming that offer up very quickly, and they're paying a premium. They're paying list price or a little bit above. So that's great for that market. And maybe you're sitting there and saying, well, Don, I've been on the market for 60 days, 90 days, 100 days. What's going on there? Well, let me take a look at that data because I want to give a full picture of what's going on. So let's flip it and look at the other group, which comes down to 457 homes that took 31 days or more to sell. Now, the median days on market for that, 52 days. So we've been on the market over 30 days. Once you hit that 52 mark, you're on the far right. Like you're offline immensely. Could be presentation, condition. Mostly it's going to be price. So the median list price in there was $244. Sorry. The median sale price was significantly lower, $369. That's a gap of almost 25,000. Those homes sold for 3.8% below the original asking price, and that's on average. And a lot of these homes also did price reductions before they went under offer. So their original price was well off the mark. They price corrected it, and probably because they waited to the 30-day mark, which typically is when realtors are having that conversation with their clients, it's time to reduce the price. It's usually around that 30-day mark. That's probably why it skewed them longer, and then they sold after the 31-day point, but still sold for a considerably less amount. And that's just across the board. The longer your home is on the market, the more unlikely you are going to get your asking price. You are going to have to make some concessions on pricing there for sure. So now we have two very different stories inside the same market. Group 1, priced right, sells in 8 days, at or above asking. Group 2, priced high, sits for 52 days, and ultimately sells almost 4% under asking after price reductions. Same city, same month, two completely different outcomes, and the difference isn't luck, it's pricing strategy from day one. And full disclosure, I have made this mistake in this market. I have looked at data from years before and put out prices and what I think the home is worth, and we've hit that price point and the home did not sell, and we have done price reductions, and we are navigating now in a bad position to try to move that property. It's because I got the price wrong at the beginning or allowed the seller to list higher to try that number and then readjust. So Here's my advice and what I want every seller watching this to really hear. Stop pricing your home based on what your neighbor sold for last year. Stop pricing based on what you think it's worth or what you paid or what you need to get. Those just aren't how this market is behaving right now, and it's not how you can price your home. Prices are down across the board with all the sales, and residential, removing new construction, are down 1% on average compared to last year. Sales volume down 18%. Inventory is up, meaning buyers have more choices, more competition among sellers, and more leverage than they've had in quite a few years now. Probably back to 2019 when buyers had a little bit more room there. So, combination, more inventory, fewer sales, softer prices, means the homes that get priced aggressively from day one are the ones stealing all the activity. The buyers are going there. I'm telling you, if they're getting over asking, they're getting multiple offers. They're the ones getting the 8-day sale or at or above asking price, and the home price based on last year's market or what the neighbor got are the ones sitting for 52 days and eventually cutting the price away, usually landing below where they could have started. So if you're selling this year, the strategy isn't list high, see what happens. The data is telling us that strategy costs you time and money, and strategy that's working is pricing in today's market and pricing to today's buyers. The market with more competition, not the market from a year ago. Price it right, and the data shows you'll likely sell in about a week, possibly or likely at your listing price. Price it high, hoping to leave some room to negotiate, which is something I hear all the time from clients, and the data shows you're more likely to still be sitting on the market weeks later, moving into your second and third month. Cutting your price is settling for less than if you priced it accurately from the start. So that's what's happened when I pulled back the curtain on these 1,964 real Halifax home sales this year. The market isn't uniformly slow. It's rewarding sellers who price within the reality of the market and are punishing sellers who price for hope or based on old data. If you're thinking about selling in Halifax and you want to know exactly where your home fits into this data, what it would sell for today and how quickly, reach out to me. I'll run the real numbers for your street, your neighborhood, your home, not last year's numbers, this year's numbers. I'm Don Ranni with Royal LePage Atlantic, your Halifax Realtor, team lead at Owning Halifax. And if this was helpful, please subscribe, because I'm going to keep pulling back the curtain on what's actually happening in this market, not what everyone assumes is happening. See you on the next one.